Welcome back to the Money Medicine Podcast, where today we discuss strategies to grow your healthcare business, tools to accelerate that growth, and how top practices and pharmacies are executing and winning. All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode. We had a great one last episode. If you haven't listened to it already, we had a great rep come on and talk a lot about doctor detailing, sales, marketing. Great episode if you haven't listened to it already. But in this episode, we're going to be talking about the 8 ways to grow and boost your holiday sales. We're going to be going through item by item and the ways that we kind of see some opportunities for these healthcare businesses for you guys. So it's going to be a great episode for you guys. As always, I am joined by Logan Morse, PharmD, Keystone Compounding Pharmacy, consultant here at Growth Farm. Logan's a great asset to the team and will help kind of take some of the e-com stuff that I'm going to be talking about and putting it through the lens of, a pharmacy, a practice, etc., and kind of anchoring down that side. So we're super excited about the episode. We know it's going to be coming out as we are getting into the holiday season. Your days are getting darker. Your mornings probably a little bit colder. And that means some shopping. I know my wife's excited about this time of the year for shopping. So maybe yours is the same.
Oh gosh, it's already started. The number of throwing things in Amazon carts and getting ready for Christmas already is insane. So
yeah, it's dangerous. It's dangerous for sure. So with that in mind, we are going to actually start off with it, or kind of thing number one, to be conscious of thinking about, for growing and boosting your holiday sales is actually early bird gets the worm. And we mean early bird gets the worm, not in the sense of just planning, which is part of it, right? This is a huge part of the year. There's tons of different studies that talk about how much brands allocate from a marketing perspective to the fourth quarter, because everyone knows how much people shop during this time period for holidays, for tax purposes. There's a lot of different reasons why dollars fly this time of year. But early bird gets the worm also in the holiday shopping period as a reference to starting your sales earlier. So especially when we were growing up, Black Friday, Cyber Monday meant Black Friday, Cyber Monday. And that was the holiday shopping period. You knew like Friday it started, Monday it closed. Like you had to make all your purchases during those time periods. I think we all can think back on times we waited in some excessive lines. I know back in middle school with some friends, I waited in a long PS5 line with my friend at a Shopco before those kind of went under. But sales today look a little bit different because of a couple different trends, online and e-commerce being one of them. But the big one is brands are starting their sales earlier. And so if you're a business, you're a practice, you're a pharmacy, you'll notice that people have probably started their sales by the time you're listening to this episode. It will for sure start early November, right after Halloween. You will see a lot of brands be more adamant or will be a lot more vocal about sales, whether they're teasing and or starting them. And the belief around it is that as dollars shrink, maybe there's a little bit of crunch on the consumer, brands are fighting for those dollars earlier. So instead of waiting and trying to get their nut Black Friday, Cyber Monday, right? They are going after those dollars sooner because they don't want to be the back half of the shopping period where people have already made a lot of the large purchases. They're trying to get at the beginning of that and tap into your wallet sooner. So again, preparation is big for Black Friday, Cyber Monday. If you're listening to this episode, there's no strategy. You're probably too late. If there's no marketing episodes or, kind of plan around it, you can definitely rush and get some things. But I think next year, make it a goal at your business that you put a little bit more thought into this time period. But again, a big thing would be as quickly as you can, if you're listening to this episode, start your sales a little bit sooner, because if you wait, what you'll see is a lot of brands will have gobbled up maybe a lot of your customers' dollars. And the sale that you thought you were going to have, the sales that you had in previous years will not come to fruition, because although they might love your product and love your service and want to take advantage of it, they've already spent their wad.
And this happens, you hear at least at the pharmacy all the time, especially with like prescriptions. People will come in and they'll pick up their script and you'll be like, oh, like, do you want to get so-and-so or XYZ? And they'll be like, oh, no, I don't have anything. I've got to wait till the end of the month when I get my check. It's like, you've got to take advantage of as soon as they get that money to actually put something in front of them so that they can actually purchase it when they've got the most amount, because it stings less when you have more
For
versus
sure.
when you have less money. You're just like, nope, I'm not going to do that. Sorry. The wall is up, right? So take advantage of it when they have the largest sum of cash.
Yeah, I think you hear people all the time, classic, like, oh, it's payday. You know what I mean? Like people are, I guarantee you there's studies, and maybe we should have prepped it for the episode, but I guarantee there are studies that payday dollars spent is higher
Oh,
than the last 5 days before they get that next paycheck, right? When like seemingly their amount in their bank account is lower. So again, to Logan's point, know maybe in a way like know when uh your paycheck of your customers kind of is, but more or less get out in front of it because they're going to be spending. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But the other thing that goes into this whole getting out early is there's a lot of data to back this up. So I think listening to some macroeconomy stuff probably helps contribute to this. Or it would be a good idea. I think working with a marketing agency typically would be a good idea because they tend to pay attention to this side of the consumer because it affects kind of marketing strategies and stuff. But if you take a look at Lending Tree, we'll make sure it's down in the description. We'll make sure there's a little chart here to show you as well. But credit card balances are pretty high right now. I think near kind of an all-time high. Again, there's some kind of like percentage of income stuff that has changed. So maybe balances are higher, but also so are incomes in some ways. But the states with the highest average credit card debt are Connecticut, New York, New Jersey, and Rhode Island. I think Texas was number 5. So something I'd be thinking about, especially if you're a business in those states, is potentially your customers are hurting a little bit more. Again, incomes in those states might be a little bit higher, but that doesn't mean that you would think that if your income was a little bit higher that you would not have also higher debts. Like in some ways you would, because you can pay it off. But on the flip side, it's like if you make more and you have a bigger delta, like you shouldn't have credit card debt. But either way, consumers are going to be looking for sales. Point being, point blank, especially as we're kind of going into fourth quarter, I think layoffs and some of that stuff are obviously a trend in certain sectors and in certain businesses right now. And so I think everyone's going to be looking for a big deal. We'll talk about kind of a shift in maybe your marketing, maybe your expectations, but they're going to be looking for sales. Now, the good news is that delinquency rates on those credit card payments is low, but it is rising. And it's again to the chart that we'll reference here on Lending Tree. It is the highest level since 2013. So people are not as flush with cash as they were, in 2020. And I think if you take a look at consumer confidence scores and things like that, that data would also reflect that people do plan to spend, but it doesn't mean that they are flush with cash. And so that's kind of a dangerous dynamic where consumers are holding on their spending, but maybe they shouldn't be. But it's something to kind of think about with your sales, if that makes sense.
no, absolutely. I think that's a big key to know, because people are still willing to spend money. It's just as long as they know that within their credit card that they're not going to go over like a massive amount. So I think this is a really good point to when you're running sales during this time frame, really have an A and B option. I think one option is having that high ticket item that's discounted. So then it promotes itself as like, hey, I'm going to get a really nice thing. It's not going to cost me as much because it's on sale right now. And then you have your low ticket item that's similar, but maybe like a less reduced price. So that way you're still making a healthy margin on it. But you've got two options that are both very appealing. And people are generally willing to spend money that way.
Yeah, it's an interesting way to look at it. Yeah, like, so you're saying something like maybe 10, 20% off like your high ticket item, but then it's like 5%, 10% off like a lower ticket item.
Right.
So, yeah, I think that would be an interesting split test. I actually really like that idea.
There we go.
Sweet. So with that also leads into point number 2, which is knowing your numbers during this time period with any sale that you're running. So one eye-opening kind of chart that, again, we wrote a blog about on our blog on growtharm.com. We'll make sure that there's a link to this as well. Definitely encourage subscribing and paying attention to that blog. I write all those myself, and I'm pretty proud of them. But one of the downsides of sales is people use them without knowing the math. And so what the chart and the blog will ultimately talk about is that if you discount by a certain percentage, you have to know how much of an increase in sales you ultimately need to have in terms of units sold, to offset the reduction, or offset the margin reduction, right? So, for example, if you discount your product for Black Friday, Cyber Monday, your holiday sale, etc., by 20%, and your gross margin on a product, and we're going to kind of talk about maybe supplements. Again, you could apply this to services, et cetera. But if your gross margin on supplements is 50%, if you discount your product by 20%, you have to sell 67% more units to make the same amount. So don't just discount to discount to hopefully increase units sold. That's kind of the whole concept of like price elasticity. Like if you kind of decrease price, can you increase demand? If you just decrease price and you don't increase demand, that's not a good trade-off, right? And so part of that goes into not just discounting, but I think you have a much better chance. I don't think this is a controversial statement, that if you discount but more people know about your offer, you probably will see the increase in demand. But if you decrease your stuff for your sale, but no one knows about it, you'll get a couple stragglers to take you up on it, and you just made less money. And they might have just bought the product anyways. So then, like, you had this discount, you gave away some margin, you didn't sell any more units, and you actually would have been better off not discount.
Absolutely. That's like one of the horror stories. We've done that before with a couple of our items, and that we were like, oh yeah, this is going to take off. We thought we planned for it, and then it just kind of hit the fan, and we're just like, well, we sold 5 units and we made 20% less than what we wanted to make. Like, yeah, that sucks. Because then really you're losing a couple of those products you just essentially gave away for free.
For sure. And it's like this, again, terrible concoction where like you're trying to help out your customer and give them a discount, but you're getting penalized for it.
Right.
Like you're losing in that process, which like, ideally you'd help your customer and help your business, kind of as a 1-2 punch. So that leads right into point number 3, which is creating hype, teasing your audience earlier, building anticipation, using social media, email marketing, et cetera, other channels to create buzz, but ultimately making sure people know about it, right? And not just dropping the sale the day of the sale with no build up to it. So one of the great people to follow on social media for sure in the direct consumer sales space has to be Harley, the president over at Shopify. And he released kind of a tweet thread. We're going to reference a couple different aspects of that tweet thread throughout the rest of this video. But one of the things they talked about is that people want to know about your deals before they are live. They don't want the like no post, like, hey, Black Friday sale Friday morning, here's our offer. People want to plan and budget for the sale that they want to take advantage of. So you need to not only like tease it, but you can also drop the details of the sale maybe a couple days before the sale start, maybe a couple days before that, a couple weeks before that. You've been teasing that you're going to have this amazing holiday sale. And then ultimately, a couple days before, you drop the details of the sale and then let them know when it's going to go live. And again, people want to be able to budget. They want to be able to buy your products, but if they don't know about it, they're surprised by it. They didn't have the money set aside. They won't be able to take advantage of it. So you should be talking about it. You should be teasing it, even as you're kind of formulating the details of what this holiday, kind of offer is going to be. And I think the other important thing to mention there too is, and this kind of is like point 1, but also point 3, is in creating this anticipation, this hype. There's elements to sales that involve like FOMO and urgency and setting like, dates of like, this is when the sale is, this is when it ends. And then staying true to that. You also see like the brands that like extend sales. But one thing that I know I'm hearing a lot is also people are calling their sales their holiday sales, not their Black Friday, Cyber Monday sale, because then there's a lot more kind of flexibility in how long they make that sale last, right? So again, kind of put a bow on that. You need to be talking about it. You need to be teasing it. You need to have distribution. That distribution can look like social. It can look like email marketing. It can look like some, paid ads and things like that. But people want to know in advance. So do not wait until the last minute to drop your sale. Think that everyone's budgeted and think that everyone planned, or think that people the second they hear about your sale, are going to drop their plans for other sales. Because people have already said like, hey, I'm going to spend $1,000, and they've started to allocate that, $1,000. And if the day of your Black Friday sale, if you started it on Friday, for example, which wouldn't be my recommendation, they might like your offer, but they had already psychologically planned the items that they're going to buy with their 1,000. And so it's a painful experience, or it's a painful process for them to decide which item they're going to remove, that they just talk themselves into buying to then replace with yours, right? So get ahead of the other brands, because again, they're going to have savvy marketing teams and they're going to be trying to get ahead, hence the kind of first point of the whole thing.
Yeah, and I want to hit on something. I've already received Target's holiday newspaper ad, or whatever, the little booklet that they send out. I've already received it. So companies are already doing this. And one of the things that I know, Chris, you walk through like email marketing and social media, even bag tags, like, or just giving your patients, if they come into your office and you see them, just give them a little handout, like, hey, here's our Black Friday sale. It's coming up. Let them know about it. Because if they are older, they may not have social media, so they're not going to see it. But if they see you in the office, or you're sending them something, a lot of those people will at least look what's in the bag. And if it catches their eye, they're going to read it. I know for us, we just started doing bag tags, and I've said for years that they don't work. But we've had 3 sales from it recently. And it's just like, sure enough, here we go. Let's use bag tags a little bit more. So, being ahead of the time, like even right now, if you started putting bag tags of like, hey, here's some, and this is an idea I think I'm going to try to run, is here's certain bundles that we're going to have on sale for our holiday stuff. Right. And so these bundles are going to be extreme, like discounted more than normal. But I'm going to have 3 or 4 items in there and move more product. So it's an excellent way to kind of move that stuff.
Well, and the thing too is you can not have all the details, but still start talking about it too. So like with your bag tags, it could be like, these items are going to be on sale up to 40% off or up to 30% off. And you haven't even finalized what it's going to be, but you just like put in their heads like, hey, plan for these items to be on sale. Be thinking about buying these items during these times. Which I think is a really smart thing to do, especially if you're like jumping in late and you're trying to figure this out after you maybe listen to this episode, like, and you want to make something happen. Like you can put some things down to give you some flexibility and then finalize those details kind of closer to the sale. Right. So it's too late, but it's not too late. You just got to act with a ton of urgency.
Right. And I think a nice point that you put on there is, you can say up to 40%. As long as you have one item that's 40%, you can make that claim. So it doesn't need to be every item. Maybe have a lost loser, maybe something super cheap like zinc, and then just put that 40% off, and then have your other items at a lower discount, because now you've generated that interest. You're like, I don't know, if I hear up to 40% off, I'm going to say, I wonder what item's 40% off. Like, what's going to be my biggest bang for my buck? And so that's a really nice point there.
What do you think about this? And this is, again, off the top of my head, so if you hate it, voice it. But I think it would make sense to have, like, to the whole, like, you just need one product. I think my most discounted item, if we're talking like supplements products wise, it would be a product that is more of a bolt on, that like everyone's going to need. Because it could be like the foot in the door for the product. So like, for example, your weight loss bundle or things like that, like I discount that some, but I might discount my vitamin D 60% off. Like, you're going to lose money out or 50% off, but like, that pretty much everyone can like just add it as a bolt on. So it's going to increase average order value. It's going to get people started on a supplement that they're like should be taking consistently, like over an extended period of time. It could just be a way for them to like start using that product. You know what I mean? In combination with,
I agree.
Like, your
I think the other nice
thing
like
about
really
want to push them
like
on,
that,
but it's like just like
if you have it set up,
costs you nothing.
Right.
Like if it's 50% off and your margin's 50% on the product, like you're getting a customer started on the vitamin D for like air quotes, no cost. But now you might start a habit of them buying that supplement, and next month it's not 50% off, but like that was your way to like get them to start taking it. Does that make sense?
No, I agree. I think there's another flip side, and you can tell me if you hate this idea too. But as you were walking through that, I think even if you take maybe like a high ticket item and you're able to discount it just below, I think you should always charge for shipping if it's below a certain price. So if you take like, let's say your cutoff is $59.99, anything above that you get free shipping. Take an item that's maybe $64 and bring that down just below, maybe at $55, because now someone's going to say, I don't know. I do this all the time. I'm like, I don't want to pay for shipping, so I'm going to get one more item that I know
Dude,
I
that's a
need.
great idea.
And then now they're buying 2 items, and now they're getting free shipping. So
Dude,
it's
I
another
thought I was the
strategy.
e-commerce expert. Great tip. I missed that one. That's a great tip. 100%. Dude, no one wants to pay. If you're at $90 and it's like $100 for free shipping, everyone knows they're finding an item to get over the threshold.
Oh yeah,
I've done it so many times because you don't want to pay $7 for shipping. That's like, oh, I paid $97 anyways, and like I could have bought a $15 item, paid $105, but I got a whole extra item and didn't pay for shipping.
exactly. I do that all the time when I'm ordering off different wholesalers for supplements, because it's like, oh, you spend $250, then you get free shipping. I'm like, well, I'm at 240. What's the cheapest item I can throw in here just to get like, and I don't even want it. Like,
Yeah,
that's part of the thing. I don't even
but you
want
don't want to pay
item.
for shipping.
But I don't want to pay for, because it's like, if I get a $10 item or a $13 item, I'm over the threshold, and I have an extra piece of item that if it sits and I sell at cost, I'm still doing better than I would have done if I paid for shipping.
For sure. So all that to say, if people are going to be in this mindset of purchasing more, right? Because again, tax reasons, Christmas bonuses, holiday bonuses, like people are going to have a little bit more cash than they typically do. It's just about who does a good job of presenting the best offer. But that leads into the next point, which is making sure you have enough inventory, because this can be an amazing time of year for you for sales. But if you don't have inventory, you don't have products to sell, that's a problem, right? So stack up on your inventory, make sure you have enough products. And again, depending on the shelf life of like the item, you're going to sell it sometime in 2024 anyways. So don't go overboard and have a bunch of cash on the shelves, but also plan for an increase on your order and have 50% more, 100% more inventory, potentially of your top products that people love. And with an offer, a discount, you're going to move more of, versus ordering your normal amount, selling out of it, and then not being able to maximize this time period, right? So again, stack up on inventory. And what I'd say to that is, again, another part of Harley's tweet thread from Shopify is people, when polled, plan to spend as much as or more than last year. 74% of people plan to for US holiday shopping. So what you did last year, many people are planning to, 3/4 of people are planning on spending that much or more. So again, we talked kind of about consumer crunch and different stuff like that. I do think it'll be interesting how it ultimately shakes out, because kind of polling is different than ultimately what people end up doing. But either way, like plan for an increase of inventory, and also factor in if you didn't do much marketing last year during this time and now you're doing more, you should sell more product. So you don't only have enough for last year's activities if you put new effort into this time period, if now you're putting in significantly more.
Right. No, absolutely. And I want to add one other thing onto, obviously having stock of your big movers is important, but also having stock of those items that go on back order very quickly. So a really good example of that right now is berberine. Berberine for certain brands can be very difficult to get. And if you can order a bunch of it and get it in stock before the next, period of time where it's going to be out of stock, now people are going to just find you because you have that item in stock, and now you're moving it instead of individuals. And I've made this mistake before. I ordered, enough that I knew I could move it, but then now all of a sudden I can't fulfill all these orders that I have for the product. I should have just ordered more than I needed. And then when it goes back on back order, you're safe. So take advantage of that and be ready for that.
For sure. Sweet. So that also, again, we're just I feel like they flow really well. The next thing here is optimizing your website for this time of year. So ensure your website can handle the traffic, again, depending on the platform, depending on who's listening. Some of you guys, like, that's a legitimate concern. For others, it's probably not. But again, a slow, clunky website will send more customers running for the hills. And so you don't want to have a poor shopping experience during this time. You don't want your website to go down. So whatever your kind of dynamic looks like on that side, make sure you have some resources, some people on hand to where if anything did go wrong, you do have a team that can troubleshoot, because that can cost you, depending on who's listening, tens of thousands or even six figures, potentially, if your site is down for even as little as 24 hours, depending on some of you and kind of your opportunities. So a big thing on that is if you're listening and you're like, well, I have a website, but I don't sell anything on it, that's a problem. So Harley, again, in that tweet thread, talked about how 93% of people will buy some of their gifts online. That should not surprise anybody with just e-commerce trends in general, especially because, you're almost guaranteed that every person's going to buy something off of Amazon. So like you're almost at 100% just because of one brand or one solution. But the other part of this too is, especially for, people in colder areas, but even if like your area doesn't get a ton of snow, if you can't sell online, make sure that this is the last year that that's the case, because people may want to buy from you, but there are a lot of variables that are out of your control as a brick and mortar business. Like if the weather sucks Black Friday, Cyber Monday weekend, and coming from someone who grew up in Michigan and coming from Logan who lives in Michigan, like it's entirely possible that Michigan or a state like that has terrible weather, the roads are ice, and no one goes anywhere. Right. And so you could have this amazing offer, this amazing solution. People want to buy from you. They want to take advantage of it. But weather and conditions like that have a direct impact on your sales. Right. And so when you think about it from a marketing perspective, you want to decrease, or just a business perspective, a life perspective, you want to decrease your uncontrollables, right? The variables that you can't control. And so by selling online, you control a lot of those variables. Weather doesn't really affect you, right? There could be technical stuff, but that's a lower percentage. And you control the entire shopping experience. For some of you, labor has been really, really difficult. You probably aren't employing at some of these businesses the people that you wish you could or wish you were, but you just can't find help. And so if they're in a bad mood, they're not doing their job. They're, doing things they shouldn't be, just more or less. And that's obviously a subjective thing, but it can be so little. If they don't do their job, like you could lose out on sales because of the people that are just there at the office, etc. And one of the beautiful things about a website is not only does it make it more convenient for your customers, not only does it make it easy for even local people to do, commerce and spend money with you, but it doesn't take vacation. It doesn't complain. It can be your best salesperson, and you control every aspect of it. You want to change the text. You want to change the headline. You want to change the offer. It happens like that. That doesn't happen in a brick and mortar setting. And so from a marketer's perspective, I want to sell things online, not because I don't think you can sell in person, but because it's just harder because there's more things I can't control. But online, I can control a lot of those things. And so I have more confidence that I'm going to be able to produce the outcome that I want. And so talking about kind of variables that you can't control, like some people just hate shopping on Black Friday, Cyber Monday weekend because it's a zoo.
That's miserable. Absolutely miserable. No one likes to be, at least I don't like to be, stuck in traffic. Then you've got to be around all these people. They don't pay attention. You've got people running into you. It's like people forget how to think.
How to be humans.
And
you see the stampedes at Walmart every year?
Yeah.
For the TVs.
Well, and then you get there and then the one item that you're looking for is gone. And you're like, I wasted all this time. If I could have just bought this offline, I would have paid, normal price just so that way I would have had it and I didn't have to wait in line. Like,
it's 100%.
Brutal.
100%. It's crazy because I didn't really participate in that much. Is like, the other thing about Black Friday is it's the day after Thanksgiving. And it, like, depending on the sale and the item in the store, I think some brands and businesses have kind of moved away from the whole like midnight on like technically Thanksgiving midnight. But like going out after Thanksgiving when you're full, you had a bunch of, what is it, tryptophan or whatever is in turkey.
Yeah, tryptophan.
It makes you all sleepy. That was a reach. I almost embarrassed myself. You've had maybe a couple things to drink. Like you shouldn't be driving. You don't really want to. It's cold. It's dark. It's dangerous. Like, don't put that on your customers. Just make it easy for them to lay in bed, be lazy like most people want to be, especially over that holiday, and let them do business with you.
Absolutely. It's huge because I know for myself, there's a certain beer I go after every year, and it releases 6 a.m.
What
The
beer
day
is
after.
it? We're gonna judge you.
Bourbon County from Goose Island. Uh, they release their certain variants
I'm gonna
that
have to look this up.
oh, it's so good. But every year I've got to get up at 6 a.m. and every year I go, why am I doing this to myself? Like, I'll just wait and get whatever's left later. But I also have, once again, I have fear of missing out. I'm like, there's only so many variants that are allocated to these stores. And this is something else that you could do. You might want to say, hey, I'm only going to have this discount on this item or this service for the first 25 people. Because now they're like, oh, shoot, I don't want to be the one person who doesn't get 25% off my next acupuncture or my next, wellness visit. Like, you're going to get people sign up very quickly. And so that's I think it's something that we tend to forget because I definitely don't want to miss out. I've got, oh gosh, so many over my cabinet right now that it's like going to enjoy them when I can, but there's such a limited number. It's like, I almost don't want to drink it. Right. So
Yeah,
similar thing with services and supplements.
for sure. For sure. So again, make it easy for people to transact with you. If you just think about services over the course of human history, the easier and the more convenient we've made things. Like, those businesses do well. Speed does well. If you can just do things in half the amount of time, it's valuable. Again, don't let next year, 2024, don't let yourself be listening to this podcast and not being able to sell online. Solve that problem. And, I know somebody that, or a company that can help you out with that. So the other thing I want to touch on, this is point number 6, is offering, irresistible deals. And I think there's some nuance to this, but your discount should be so tempting that customers can't resist, that they really do want to take advantage of your offers. And so I kind of see it through a lens like this. And I think there's questions that you can ask and you can ultimately decide, because there's so many variables that could play into what's best for you in your specific instance. But if I were a newer business, a company or a business that's maybe private labeling, and I'm new to private label, I'm new to offer a new service, I'm new just as a business, I would view this time period as a way to capture market share more so than to profit. So what I mean by that is, it's not that you can't profit, but you're in the business of getting people to try out what you do, to try out a product, to try out a service, to try out you as a business. And so if you skimp on the sale and you skimp on the discount because you're trying to, again, protect your margins, which again, I understand. If no one takes you up on your offer and you get no business, then you didn't accomplish anything. But at the very least, if you discount pretty heavily, still make some money out. I'm not telling you to lose money on your offer, but if you discount pretty heavily, where you can get a bunch of people to try out your brand, to try out your company, to try out your services, to try out your products, I think, again, if you're early on, that would be the way to maybe look at Black Friday, Cyber Monday, is, can I get market share? Can I get people that can try me out, that can like me? And then November goes into December, into January, and they're reordering at full price, or they're coming back for the service at full price. I think brands that are pretty established can have good offers, but don't have to have as good of offers, because they already have demand for their products. Right? You just want to show that you care. You have a discount. You have a something for this time period. But I think if I was smaller, I want to use this as a way to build my customer base. And the way you do that is by having a better offer than your competitors. It can't be equivalent. Logan, if he sells tons of supplements and I'm a brand new, business in town, I can't have the same 20% discount as Logan, because people will just stay with Logan. But if I'm 40% off, I might be able to pull some people over to try out my products instead, because I have a better offer. And now there's a legitimate reason to maybe entertain a switch, if that makes sense. So with that in mind, again, another Harley thing here, I just think from Shopify, you can get so much data and insights. 25% of people said that shopping small and locally is the top reason for choosing a retailer. People want to shop local, but if you make it really hard for them to do so, kind of going to the website point, or you give a terrible offer, it's not good enough, it's not strong enough, it's not an irresistible deal. People will not shop local because it is just a better trade. It's a better use of their dollars. So don't think that people are willing to get a worse deal and shop local. Some people will, and they're probably local business owners themselves, and so it's like a pride thing. But if apples to apples, I think everyone chooses local. But I think if it's not apples to apples, people are going to choose online all day long, whether local or someone out of the state, out of the country, out of the area.
Right. No, absolutely.
So, again, you can have a great offer, but if the logistics of claiming that offer suck, people won't take advantage of it. I also think too, kind of going to the whole like gaining market share, like maybe include in your irresistible offer, like depending on spend, depending on what they ultimately buy, that they might get a free or a heavily discounted offer to a service that you're really trying to pick up and get going off the ground. So maybe like your IV therapy business is low. Maybe your, I don't know, your chiropractic business, your massages are low, your facials are low, in terms of just like demand. I would use your offer as a way to maybe wrap in some of those services as what they get as like the bonus, so that you can simultaneously get more people to try out those services. So again, it doesn't just have to be on the product side. It can also be on the service side as well. So find ways to get people to try things that you're ultimately trying to get off the ground. And this is a great reason why with this time period of year.
I agree. I think it would be a really interesting thing to see, like spend $250 or whatever, dollar amount, $150, get a free service of some sort or a free product. Not only that, if it's a product that is going to be really good, let's say it's a supplement, and they like it, they may say, hey, I need to replace maybe my fish oil or my whatever else that I take with their products. Or if it's a service based and you make them feel better, they're going to say, well, what if I try the upgraded service, because more is always better, right? I think it'd be very interesting, or make it random. I think another thing that people really like these days, and this may not be as equatable to health, but is like mystery boxes. People, just the fascination with mystery boxes. So it's like, get a mystery supplement if you go over $100, and then you get 2, or you get a mystery bundle, right? Because then they're like, well, I know you only have 7 bundles, so it's going to be one of these 7, and I'm going to like at least any of them. Once again, it's just another way to increase your sales there.
Yeah, no, completely agree. So with that, going into point number 7, cross-selling and upselling, maximizing each transaction, encouraging customers to buy related or higher priced items through strategic cross-selling or upselling. And one of the things I love here, because I think it's pretty straightforward with cross-selling and upselling, like you should do it. But right. I think one of the best offers that you can do that's just so easy is if someone buys something, offer them more of that product for a discount. So the reason that typically works really well is that people have already said yes to the item, and now you're giving them a discount on more of the item. You're not trying to sell them into a new item, which is like sometimes a challenge. It's, hey, you've already voiced that you want this product, that you want this, again, you want this supplement, you want this service, you want to pay for a massage, or you want to pay for an adjustment, you want to pay for, this treatment or whatever it is. Just offer more of it, especially if it's a service that they're going to need more of. Like right. One isn't going to be enough. Like you're just saying like, hey, get the discount now. You're going to need it anyways, and it's going to cost you 20-30% more. Like, why don't you just buy 2 additional sessions, 2 additional products, etc., at this 20-30% off? And then you get that, again, influx of cash. You get that cash sooner. And I think especially if you're a pharmacy going into 2024, having a little bit more cash on hand going into January is probably a good idea. So if you can give your customers reasons to front some cash, that would be a smart thing. I think you could also do this. I know, Logan, you're familiar kind of with this offer in like a service setting with like Gym Launch, but if you have people that like religiously buy supplements, you could make a limited offer only for 5 people, only for 10 people, buy your year's worth of supplements and get 2 months free. So buy 10 months and get 2 months free. And then you get them to spend a bunch of money up front. So you get that front on the cash that you would have gotten over the next 10, 12 months. The customer gets a win because they get 2 free months. You make, yes, less as a percentage on potentially 12 orders, but you get it all up front.
Right.
And so I think that's an offer that you could implement easily, because there's 10 people that will take you up on a package like that, where they'll pay more up front because they know they're going to purchase it anyways. And people have their holiday bonuses, they have their Christmas bonuses, etc. Not everyone will take you up on it. You want to put a limited amount on it, because you want there to be some FOMO, some urgency, and you also don't want every customer to take you up on it, because you do want to collect cash in future months too. But you can make it for 5 to 10 people and get a big order, get people to pay $2,000 for the year's worth of supplements. And you could wrap it as hey, come in and pick them up. That way they don't have to take all the months home, because they don't have the space for it, or the products could expire. It's just hey, here's a redeemable ticket, redeemable token, come in, we'll punch it off, etc. And you just pick up your supplements off the shelf.
Right. I this is something I wish I would have looked into. But there's I've read somewhere along the lines of offering a gift card. So buy 2, get a gift card worth $10, because most people don't end up using that gift card. So
for sure. I think it's was it Best Buy that did some stupid number in profit from unused gift cards.
Oh, absolutely. It is, because I do it all the time. We've got gift cards to Trader Joe's or wherever else, and it's because I don't know if you can order off Trader Joe's online, but anyway, because I don't want to have to drive there, I don't do it, and then it just sits there, and then it's going to expire probably eventually, or I'll just never use it and throw it away.
It's free money. The customer gave you money for a credit. The credit's not redeemed. That's pure profit. And you don't do it with the intention of them losing the thing. It's not like you give them the discount card and then you go take it from their wallet next, 2 days later. People just forget about stuff.
Right.
So, again, another thing, and people don't want to, people will give cash as a gift during this time of year, but people typically like to put things in the form of gift cards. And so if you have gift cards, again, it helps with kind of the whole holiday gift period, but again, it might just not be redeemed. So it could be great. And if it was redeemed, awesome. People are doing business with you. There's no harm, no foul. But if it's not, bonus.
Right. Absolutely.
So with our last and final point of the 8 reasons, we got customer support. So this kind of goes without saying, but you want to make sure that you nail this time period of the year from a customer support perspective. And that could shake out in a number of different ways. Maybe you're selling a lot of product and you are running into inventory issues and you need to voice that. I think you want to be transparent. I think you want to be honest. I think you want to be vocal. I don't think you want to leave people hanging in the dark during this time period of year, right? It's a very sensitive period for shopping, because people have strict deadlines of it needs to be under the tree by X date. It needs to be given to someone by X date. So people are typically a little bit more sensitive to timelines. Right. So if you have a hiccup, don't hide it. And if you expect a surge in orders, make sure you have the people that can handle the refunds, that can handle the product swaps or the product damages or all that kind of stuff, and take care of people. Again, the biggest thing that I would say is, if it's within your control, get them the product before Christmas, or kind of pick your holiday. Christmas is just obviously a quite popular one. You don't want your holiday deal to not be delivered until after Christmas. That is just a nasty stain on your brand, and I've seen it done. And for some people, that's just a irreversible negative customer experience that they can't look past. So don't overpromise. Do your absolute best to over deliver, but again, just be thoughtful about this time period from a customer support, from a customer service perspective. The holidays can be an amazing time period for people, but it can also be a really challenging time for people, especially with family, lack of loved ones, depending on everyone's kind of unique situation. So I think just overarching emotions are high from a consumer's perspective. And so I think you can win a lot of people over. I think you can make some really happy customers, some really big advocates, but you can also burn a lot of bridges. And so just be thoughtful about that at your business and do your best to coach up your employees. And we'll talk to them about this specifically, because, not to make it about Santa's watching, but kind of in a way Santa's watching, if you want to use that joke, but people are paying attention. Have everyone in your absolute best behavior, best customer service, because consumers and people are crazy this time of year. and
absolutely
you want it to be something that aids your business, not damages it going into the next year.
Absolutely.
Sweet. All right. Well, you guys have just wrapped up 8 reasons, 8 ways to have a better holiday shopping experience for your business. Again, if you're listening to this, you're like, man, I've missed out on so much of this. I could do so much more. Like, this preparation starts earlier. It does not even start a month out. It doesn't start 2 months out. You build your audience, you build your assets. Like, you cash in during these times of year, right? The day you plant the seed isn't the day that you harvest it, etc. That whole expression. So don't listen to this episode, get discouraged, and then not do something until July of next year, August of next year, September of next year. Like, listen to this episode, and if it bothers you, do something about it now, so that you give yourself 12 months to really build something, so that next year, again, is a massive win for your business. And you obviously see wins along the way, but next year looks a lot different. So for those of you that listened, that can take advantage of some of this stuff, because we have some of these things in place. We hope that there's some amazing nuggets for you. If you're the business owner, if you're a rep for a company that's talking to business owners, I think there's a lot of nuggets in here that you can kind of parlay into your conversation that you're going to be having. But ultimately, we want you guys to have massive success. We want you to sell amazing products and services that help people. And I think that, especially in the healthcare space, there's a lot of great things that you guys offer. I'd love for consumers to spend their dollars on your products and your services versus some of the alternatives. So don't let marketing be the reason that does not happen. So again, appreciate you guys listening to the Money Medicine Podcast. As always, signing off as myself and with Logan and his great insight. Appreciate it. Subscribe, like the video, leave comments. You know the drill. But we'll see you on the next episode.